Here come the roster moves. We talk about them next.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Alongside Sam Olber, I'm Matt Cozy. Sam and I are lifelong fans, taking our passion into discussion with you on all things Cubs. Thank you for being part of the show and making us your first listen today. And the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day, like the video, and comment anything below. Today's episode is presented by our great partners at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Later in the show, we're going to have 5 listener-submitted videos, which will be a little bit of an appetizer for 1 or 2 live listener events we'll have between now and the end of the year. We'll talk more about that later as well. But first, we're going to talk some roster moves as the Cubs are about to shuffle the roster with the offseason beginning sometime this week. Today, we're going over players who could be roster casualties sooner rather than later, and for one reason or another. Here's the biggest one at the forefront, is that within 5 days of the World Series, all players currently on the 60-day IL need to be reinstated to the 40-man roster. Well, that's a problem because the Cubs 40-man has 40 guys on it. So in addition to that, we are going to bring to you all the candidates to either be DFA'd, traded, or non-tendered, with the non-tender deadline that Friday before Thanksgiving. Sam, all of these players that we're going to discuss and mention have a question mark next to their name in my mind. Are you ready for some roster discussion?
Yeah, this is one where, this is one of those rare times on this show where I kind of like to just get in the back seat and look out the window and kind of have you steer me in terms of this, because this is more your field. But I definitely have some opinions, like on an Alzolay, and his 60-day, and there's a couple other guys. So let's get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. So
hungry, by the way.
The Cubs have a few guys on the 60-day IL.
Starved.
And maybe have some Halloween candy.
No, not with all the mouse stuff I've been through.
Okay.
No.
So this group is 20 guys that I think are candidates to be moved.
Wow.
They're either arbitration eligible or players who are under control, but they have something going on. Either they're not a fit anymore, they don't have options left, something like that.
Yeah, you did your homework.
One other thing to consider here is cost,
right?
As well.
Well, and we know Tom, we'll be considering that. Yeah, there's a rumor going around that he used a 2-for-1 for his coffee at Starbucks yesterday. Yeah. That's a joke, by the way. It's a joke, guys. It's not true.
What if someone ran with that?
Exactly. You got to be careful.
No, that's funny. Well, my favorite Halloween candy is Reese's, by the way.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to roster discussion. So there's
I got too many root canals for Skittles.
So the ARB eligible guys that I think are in jeopardy are Almonte, Bethancourt, Tauchman, Merriweather, Madrigal, Wisdom, Alzolay, Wingenter, Herget, Brewer, and Thompson.
That's it?
Yeah.
Let me pause.
Yeah.
Mike Tauchman should not be at risk of losing his job.
Right.
I just did an episode on that.
Right.
That would be a mistake. And I know what people are going to say and comment. They're going to say, well, you got to open up the spot for the Caseys of the world. You're not bringing up Owen Casey to be a 4th outfielder. He's either playing or he's not. The 4th outfielder spot should be to Tauchman. Go ahead.
All right. So I do think that Tauchman and Merriweather are my only unlikely. So this is like in terms of parted, are the Cubs going to part ways? Is it likely or unlikely? I think Tauchman and Merriweather from that list are the only ones that the Cubs are unlikely to part ways with. Merriweather, first of all, is low cost. MLB Trade Rumors projects him at only 1.3 M's. Plus, he has an option left if the Cubs want to play with the Des Moines shuttle for one more year. And then Talkman is just a positional fit. I think they have to bring him back. I think you made a great argument on Friday, and I think those are two guys who should be unlikely to part ways with moving forward.
Agree.
The guys that I'm unsure about are ones that, while they don't have options left, Sam, they are low cost, meaning they're somewhere between the 800K to $1 million range, and that's Thompson, Brewer, and Herget. I think the Cubs can learn something from the Jeremiah Estrada fiasco.
Sure.
Even if these guys don't have options left, because of just the money they're making, maybe they do hold on to those three guys at least, until December, or maybe even, to spring training or longer.
Now, can I ask you a question to clarify?
Yeah.
Some of these guys, so like, for example, if they were to hold on to Keegan,
right,
he's already on the 40-man.
Right. This is only 40-man.
But there's you're going to speak on Adbert, I'm assuming later on. He's on the 60-day, right?
Yeah, so his fate is going to be determined sooner.
And then if they bring him back, then they got to let someone go off the 40-man.
Exactly.
Right.
And that happens maybe as soon as tomorrow. Thursday.
Well, hopefully not.
Right. And I don't think it will, actually.
Yeah, me neither. Go ahead.
Okay. So here's who I think the Cubs are likely to part ways with because of cost, fit, or because they don't have options left.
Yeah.
And it's a big list.
And can we add talent to that?
Well, yeah, that's like positional fit.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess I'm just being nice.
Yeah.
So I do think they part ways with Almonte.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure about that one.
I know he was the second piece of that deal last year, but he has no options left, and he's 2.5 M's.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that one, but go ahead.
Okay. I do think if they part ways, they'll try to bring him back.
Got it.
Bethancourt, gone.
Yeah.
Madrigal, gone.
Wow. Should we elaborate on that?
No, he does have an option left, but he's MLB trade rumor says 1.9 M's. I just think for a player that,
wow,
has been very underwhelming, position that's been underwhelming. I think it's time to move on. He needs a change of scenery or a career, possibly a career transition. Respectfully,
and I hope you're right, shakeup wise. Not saying I think it'd be nice to see some shakeups, but I would be surprised if they moved on from Madrigal at that price.
Okay, well, that's a good point. Next up is Patrick Wisdom.
Yeah, it's time.
$3 million.
No, it's time.
I think it's time, even though he does have 3 options left. I don't know how that happened.
It's time.
Wingenter has no options left. Had a cameo last year. He's gone. And the last one is Adbert Alzolay. I think he's likely to be parted ways with.
You really think they're going to move on from him?
I do, but I think they have a handshake that says, hey, how about a minor league deal while you rehab?
Okay.
Something like that.
That's an interesting caveat.
But they're not going to pay him the 2.5 M's for nothing.
Okay.
He was bad last year.
And yeah, bad and hurt.
So. All right, that's all the ARB eligible guys. Anyone stand out there?
The Madrigal one.
Yeah.
I think that's the most interesting one because if you go into this season, so let's hypothetically say the Cubs don't make any big deals. As of right now. So Paredes is your third baseman. Dansby's at short. Nico's at second. Bush is at right. TBD in the outfield. You got Shaw that's going to be a part of it. But there's still another infielder that you have to have. Uh-huh. And if it's not going to be Wisdom, it comes down to Mastro or Madrigal.
Yeah.
I guess Mastro is better with the speed, but I do think that Madrigal would still get the leg over him because he's so much, he's better defensively, could play third. I don't know. I have no idea. But I think that would be a pretty big story.
It is, yeah.
If they moved on from Madrigal.
Right. And the determination I made was Mastro over Madrigal.
Yeah.
He's on the next part of the list because I just think, there's questions about him, but he's making the minimum. He has an option left. But I get what you're saying when you compare the two. Maybe it's worth that extra $1 million to keep Madrigal's defense around or something like that.
Right.
Because here's the list of players that are under control. But again, because of a variety of reasons, I think they're they're subject to change in terms of their roster status. Canario, Mastro, Knight, Mervis, Vasquez, Davis, Killian, Enoli Paredes, who they picked up from the Brewers late in the year, and then Gavin Hollowell, who they picked up from, I believe, the Rays late in the year.
Yep.
They pitched like 1 or 2 innings with the Cubs in September. So
we'll see.
I think likely to part ways with, simply because they have no options left. Now, again, part ways could mean they get traded this next month. It doesn't have to mean DFA or non-tender. So Canario and Killian, the return of the Chris Bryant trade, they have no options left. So you can't do the Des Moines shuttle anymore.
The Canario,
there's no room for them.
The Canario fit, there's none.
There's zero. Caleb Killian almost ruined a couple guys' careers the last couple of years by hitting them.
Yeah, the Killian thing's a little bit more interesting, but carry on.
And then this dude, Enoli Paredes, he has no options left. He's through.
Okay.
Yep. Unless you put him in that category with like Herget, Brewer, and Thompson, no options but low cost.
Hey, give me 1 sec. Can I get a couple Tylenol?
Yeah.
I got a headache.
No,
Can we, with a glass of water to be great.
Yeah, I guess he's in that same. So I guess I'm unsure more on Paredes. Killian and Canario, I think their time.
But here's
is done.
the thing.
What do you think about Killian?
Here's what I think about all of this.
Okay.
We got to figure, we don't know what Jed, Craig, Carter, and company, what they like and don't like about these guys. Like if they really see a major ceiling in a Paredes, not Isak, but the reliever, then maybe they'll move it around and their actions will speak louder than their words. And they'll say, hey, we really like this guy. We think there's something here with this pitch, and we think we could turn him into something. So that's what's going to happen. So that's the level of it that we don't know. Maybe with Killian as a reliever, they think he could be a 97, 98 mile an hour guy and come in and do some things. I doubt it, but we don't know.
All right, so then I have 3 position players they're likely to part ways with. The first guy is a dude the Cubs did a good gesture by, Caleb Knight, because he was retiring. So they put him on the major league roster for a day, I guess, to finish his career as a big leaguer and get 1 day of major league pay. So that was nice by Jet and company. Obviously, he's going to be a casualty soon. And then the other 2 are Brennan Davis and Matt Mervis, which
they're both,
I think stands out more, but there's no fit.
Well, Brennan Davis can't catch a break health-wise.
Yeah, it's too bad.
And Matt Mervis didn't produce, so.
Right. And then I think unlikely because meaning they're going to stick around because they have their low cost options left. I do think Mastro sticks around at least for some of the offseason. Luis Vasquez as well as a depth piece, and then this pitcher Hollowell. So that's everybody
because of the options with Vasquez.
Yeah, you just got one option left.
Okay.
So I will condense this and push it out via X at some point soon, because I think it is a nice little resource if you're into, what movement could the Cubs have right away?
Sure.
And who knows, maybe the Cubs acquire a player or 2 via trade as soon as this week. We'll see. That could be interesting. Like they did Mastro 2 years ago from the Rays.
Right.
So. All right. Well, I know that was kind of like we did the science there, but
no, I enjoyed it.
All right. Coming up next, we get to some fan videos. Stay tuned. Today's episode is presented by Game Time. Whether it's a Cubs game, comedy show, or a concert, I love going to live events. And now Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. The experience of searching for and then buying tickets on Game Time is simple. Plus, Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. See the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. What time is it?
It's game time.
All right, we have 5 fan videos in the queue. Wanted to try this in terms of like on-demand videos that have been submitted by listeners. We put out a call for that the first couple episodes this week. Shout out to Larry Serlin, by the way. Larry, as he admitted in his email, he was curious. Yes, your video was too long. We appreciate Larry. He's an everydayer of this program. But, I mean, literally, we can't upload long videos to
How
our
long
program.
was it?
It was 4 minutes long.
Yeah.
But I will make sure I personally send Larry an invite, Sam, to either our holiday party, which is in December. This will be our 3rd annual.
3rd.
And then I have an idea, Sam, that I haven't told you yet.
If the Cubs don't make the playoffs, it'll be my last. Go ahead.
I have an idea for
It's dark already. It's like 4 p.m.
I have an idea for a possible Thanksgiving live show.
Really?
For the day or two before Thanksgiving.
Live is in live on our computers or live in person?
Well, no, on the computer.
Okay. Like with turkey and stuff?
Yeah, it's called Podsgiving.
Go Cubs.
Well, we could go on live during the holiday because I don't want to watch the Bears in the Motor City.
Should we go live at 11:30 a.m.
Yeah.
Right to kickoff?
I don't want to watch the Bears play in the Motor City.
All right. Well, safe to say listeners are going to be on a lot coming up. If not the holiday party, then
Illinois, Arkansas as
if
well.
not Podsgiving, then the holiday party. Illinois plays Arkansas this week?
No, in basketball.
Oh, Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving Day, right after the game, Detroit Bears on CBS.
All right. First up is Brady.
Cool.
Sam, let's listen to what Brady has to say.
Let's do it.
Matt, Sam, appreciate you guys doing a sound off again for us fans to just kind of talk through what we're feeling. I looked back at last year's episode of after the hiring of Craig Counsell, and it's funny to look back and see what you had said and how right or wrong you were. I had mentioned at the time just that the Craig Counsell hiring was going to give us insight onto what this roster was and not be held back by David Ross. And it's funny that we are here a year later, and it's obvious that it wasn't David Ross's fault. The roster has its issues. You guys have talked that over that extensively, so we don't need to go into that. But I think the one thing that I want to emphasize is my viewpoint on the offseason and Jed Hoyer. Last year I had preached to Sam just patience. Jed has a plan in place. I think he's going to make moves that are meaningful. And as the offseason went on, we had kind of, they're going to bring Bellinger back. We're going to see what that is. And I think Jed's plan was internal improvement and increasing the margins and that type of thing. And we just didn't see that happen. So I'm excited this year because there's 2 things that can happen with the Cubs offseason. The first is Jed Hoyer makes big moves and the Cubs become a contender and he gets his extension and we're all happy because the Cubs are back where they should be in the playoffs at the top of the Central. The other one is he doesn't make the moves. And unfortunately that might sacrifice the 2025 season, but if that's the way it happens, then it just proves that Jed Hoyer is not the guy for the Cubs. And so this offseason is going to be really telling. It's going to be important to kind of look at all the moves and not look at each individual one in a vacuum. But hopefully by the time we get to spring, it's very obvious that Jed's made the decisions that are needed to keep his job and to make the 2025 Cubs a contender. So I think this offseason is going to be an offseason of answers, and I'm excited to continue to go through that with you guys. So again, thanks so much for the sound off. I really, really appreciate it.
All right, no surprise, Sam, but great stuff from Brady right there.
Yeah, Brady's a smart guy. First of all, nice decor in his place.
Horizontal video.
Yeah,
take up the whole screen. Phenomenal.
No, everything looked
him and our listener Kevin. Next segment, you'll see him.
Everything
they did that.
Everything looked really sharp. Yeah, Brady was big on the Jed support train, as I was big on the Counsell hire train, and we both kind of would like to have a little of those back. But the off season, I agree with what he said. It's a really logistical way of looking at it. Hey, either we're happy or hey, Jed's not the guy. It's like being in a relationship. You go out on a couple dates, you go out on one more, and if there's still nothing there, hey, you know what? We know. Let's move on.
Yeah, it strikes me as straightforward.
Yeah.
It's
straightforward. We don't have to doubt ourselves
right.
or whatever. So okay, cool. I like it.
Yeah, there's not much mental gymnastics we'll have to play.
Yep.
All right, coming up, or next up, excuse me,
we're sticking right here.
Is Alex. First time we're hearing from him on the show. Very exciting. Here's Alex.
What's going on, fellas? Here to discuss my feelings on the current state of the Chicago Cubs. It's kind of an odd place to be. I would say it's very similar to how I felt after 2023, maybe a little bit worse, but similar in a sense that, I'm extremely not optimistic that Jed's going to be able to go out and do anything drastic that, shifts the course of how we view this team going into next year. If you could bet on pre-off-season, win projections, I'd say there's a great chance that the Cubs are, between 83.5 and 85.5 next year, with the hope that, everyone overperforms. We get 95th percentile outcomes out of all of our roster. It's a pretty bland place to be as an organization, especially an organization as historic and that holds the stature that the Cubs do. Last year I really let myself hope that Ohtani was going to become a Cub. I really, for those 3 months, grasped onto that hope that Ohtani, there's a real chance this guy could become a Cub. This year there's an equal level prospect at a much younger age, hitting, generational level, hitting the market in Juan Soto, and I've already, let that go long ago. I'd say there's less than a 0.5% chance that he becomes a Cub, which again, for a organization of the stature of the Cubs, that's a pretty, upsetting place to be. Maybe he'll surprise us, maybe he'll go package 4 of their, 7 top 100 kids in AAA, and, acquire some superstar out there that we maybe don't even know is available. Maybe he goes and gets Vlad. I think it's unlikely. And yeah, it's just, I think the rotation will be good again. They'll probably add a pitcher or two, and we'll see similar issues. And I think in all likelihood, he'll probably lose a job after the year. And again, we'll look back and we'll say, what a waste, really.
Wow.
I really enjoyed that one, Alex. Yep. His tone summarizes the entire problem with the organization. That tone was kind of like, I love this team, but I'm really bored, man.
Yeah.
And
that's a good summary.
And everything he said is right. Less than a 0.5% chance to land a generational 26-year-old superstar phenom who has interest from the Yankees, Mets, and Dodgers, but the other 2 big markets, the Cubs and Red Sox, all of a sudden don't do that anymore. Right. It was a really well done video.
Oh, yeah.
And his tone, I wish I could send that to the Cubs brass, because I think that's the tone that we echo. But we can't do that because we have to entertain.
Absolutely. And I do think as we hear from more listeners over the next couple of months, I think it is going to be telling. And I'm glad that we're able to be the voice of the fan.
Great video
as well. All right, coming up next, we're going to get to Kevin, Mitch, and Eric. Stay tuned. All right, we're back here on Locked On Cubs, on demand, sound off edition. Already heard from Brady and Alex. Next up is Kevin right here.
Hey, Matt and Sam. I'm Kevin. I'm a college student and a lifelong Cubs fan. Been a fan of the program for a better half of a year now, so thank you guys for having this opportunity. So I got 2 thoughts on the Cubs right now. First one being, I think Moises Ballesteros needs to be the starting catcher in Tokyo. I'm done seeing Miguel Amaya. This is who he is now. He's going to be an 87 or whatever it was, WRC plus player. And Ballesteros is already a better hitter than him. So, why are we kidding ourselves? I know that the defense isn't where you want it to be from a catching position. I know that's very important. But I think the bat is so much better that you have to live with that. And Ballesteros is going to be 21. He's going to develop at the defensive side of the ball. I think that move automatically gets the Cubs to around 85, 86 wins. And then the other move I would like to see them make is a trade with the Brokeland Athletics for Brent Rooker and Mason Miller. And I know that's probably going to have a high price tag, but I was looking at the Robinson Cano and Edwin Diaz trade from a few years ago, and they really only had to give up 2 like top level prospects. So I think if you give away like a Triantos and Alcantara, maybe a Jefferson Rojas, like that's a realistic deal. And Brent Rooker's a guy who put up like 5.5 WAR last year as a designated hitter, and he played some first base in the minor leagues. Like if we trade Michael Busch away, I think Brent Rooker can definitely learn the first base position and add even more value there as our star hitter that we've been looking for. And then Mason Miller, that's a guy that obviously WAR doesn't really work well with relief pitchers, but I think if you have a guy like Mason Miller on the Cubs, he wins you like 5 at least of the games that we blew this year. So having that trade as well as Ballesteros, I think easily gets the Cubs to 90-plus wins, and then you have the $70 million left over, assuming Bellinger opts out. So those are my thoughts. Thanks, guys.
Fantastic.
Yeah, look, Kevin, I would love to hang out with you sometime. You seem like a nice guy, and I appreciate the video, and it was well said. Yeah. The Ballesteros thing, it's the same with Contreras. When Contreras was hitting and they still dealt him, you can't mess with that position in terms of pitch calling and pitchers and stuff. Maybe they give him a chance to catch once a week or something like that, and then he could DH. I just don't see it right now. But who knows? It's not my decision. And then the Rooker Miller thing, it's a different type of trade than the one you were referring to. Those guys, I think it would cost you everything.
That'd be major.
I don't see how the A's can make that deal and not get back PCA to start. I just don't.
Yeah.
You're talking about an elite level young closer who doesn't have that type of volatility because he's really a starter, but he's closing. And then a guy that's going to finish in the top 5 of MVP voting that's young and controllable.
Right.
I think that starts with Busch, and then it goes to PCA.
Yeah.
Then it goes to Triantos. Then it goes to Casey. Then it goes to Bias. I don't see it value-wise, but maybe Oakland, I just don't see it. I don't know how else I could say it.
It's extremely unlikely.
But to your point,
what about one of them?
If it happened, if they got both, then they become the best team in the Central by a mile.
Right. Oh, easily.
By a mile.
Right.
Assuming they don't give up all their players on their current team to do so.
All right, let's get to Mitch. He's next up.
Hey, Matt and Sam. My name is Mitch. I am an everyday listener. I am a Crystal Lake native. Go Tigers. I live out in Lawrence, Kansas nowadays. Rock chalk. Here's my thing. So the 25 Cubs obviously need a couple things. Power bat, starting pitching, reliever. We've talked about that. Something that I think that we have kind of missed, or something that I think that the Cubs need, is the personality of the person that's coming in. So Sam a lot of times has been talking about how we have a lot of nice baseball players, right? And I know he's talking specifically statistical. I'm a little bit more of a casual fan. I don't really get into statistics that much, if I'm being honest. However, I think that nice baseball player that Sam is talking about with all these brothers, it's also in their personality, right? None of these guys are as mad as they should be. 2 years of mediocre baseball in a cathedral of the sport with fans all across the, not country, the world, who love this team, and this is what you put out, and you're like fine with it. There's not enough frustration. There's not enough anger. The only thing I can think of is like Justin Steele in May or June, whenever he came into the dugout and just kind of yelled at the guys because they weren't doing a good job. We need more of that. What I would love to see from the 25 Chicago Cubs is I would love to see a player, power bat, starting pitcher, reliever, don't care, who comes in and gets John Boy lip reading highlights, right? I want to see a guy like 2019, 2018 Bryce Harper who's getting in the faces of people, okay? I need a villain. I need a villain on the Chicago Cubs. I don't care what kind of player it is, power bat, pitcher, reliever. I need a dude who comes in and is mad because we don't have anyone like that right now. Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity. You guys are doing a fantastic job. I absolutely love the show. You are on my commute every single day. Keep up the great work. See ya.
Yeah.
That's Mitch. He's getting us fired up.
Well, I got an episode tomorrow talking about stuff like that.
Come on.
Yeah, personalities, leadership, balancing the clubhouse. Can having too many nice guys or too many introverted guys lead to stagnant or lead to complacency? That's a real thing. And I love that video, and I'm ready to run through a wall for Mitch.
No, we get only high quality videos here.
I would like to just say, though, in terms of Rock Chalk, that Illinois beat Kansas at Memorial Stadium early in the year.
That's right.
For revenge for Bill Self leaving us high and dry in the early 2000s.
Bringing us home is Eric.
Hey Matt, hey Sam, Eric here, coming to you live from my office in downtown Chicago. Sam, I'm a fellow Stevenson alum, so hope to meet you one day.
Cubs.
What I wanted to sound off about today is the complacency that the fan base allows the Cubs ownership to have. I've been to over 100 games at Wrigley Field the last 3 years, and I know I'm part of the problem here when I say this, but the fans are always out there supporting their team, filling up the stadium, and in turn filling up the pockets of the ownership group. So even though the product on the field is lackluster at best and boring to watch, especially that weekend Yankee series that sold out 3 games in a row and they put up 2 runs over 3 games, that's pathetic. It irks me, but I don't think there's anything we can do about it. Just wondering what you guys think. I wish more fans demanded success of the team. Maybe the marquee subscriptions, like you guys have talked about, will go down enough. But this team does not deserve the fans that it has. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
It's a beautiful office, Eric. Beautiful view. Yeah, we've talked about this. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago.
Well, I would love to believe all those are factors and they're going to act on it this offseason, but I don't see a path to it.
You're never going to get the fans not to go to Wrigley Field during the summertime.
Exactly
right.
It's
not a plausible thing. It's too beautiful of a park. It's too beautiful. I mean, I remember, and I'm gonna hopefully you're okay with this, and if you're not, it is what it is. I remember a couple of years ago, it was early in the year, and you sent me a text after a win, and you were like, hey, like something like, I'm all in, like, this is amazing, this and that, because you were just so energetic.
Was I there?
Yeah, you were there.
Oh, okay.
From being at the stadium, you just felt like you were, and that same thing.
Yeah.
When I was there to watch play the Reds and they came back, I'm like, there's no way this team. I mean, it feels like you're on top of the world.
Yeah.
And so, like, people aren't going to stop. And then you go out, you hang out with your friends, you got stuff to do after. It's a tourist destination. Everybody can get fooled by the atmosphere at Wrigley. And so the only way you could prove to ownership and stuff that you're out is by canceling the marquee subscription, which I did for the offseason.
Yeah, my guess is a lot of people did.
But
are you going to sign up in April?
Well, I have a show to do.
Right. Well, or is the listener going to?
Right.
Yeah.
If I don't have it, then that's kind of, that's not really being fair to the listener.
Right.
No, it's great videos by everybody.
Well, that's what makes our show different. Can we say that?
Well, you could say whatever you want.
We've had almost 40 listeners on our show in our history.
No
one else does that.
High quality videos, agree with everything.
Thank you.
Everybody just seemed really kind of tired with this theme. And that's the right emotion. Mitch kind of looked like he was kind of ready to move to the South Side to go root for Will Venable and that team.
Thank you so much for checking out this edition of Locked On Cubs. You give us 20 to 30 minutes. We'll give you all things Cubs.
Brady, let me know your interior designer.
Along the way, be sure to hit subscribe on YouTube. Smash the like button for the algorithm. Can we get to 12,000 subs by opening day? And leave a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, and everywhere you get your podcast. All right, Sam's back tomorrow talking PCA, Red Sox doc, and more. He's Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. This is Locked On Cubs.
See ya.